Welcome to Reflections. Today I have a controversial guest with me, at least in some social circles on YouTube and elsewhere. We've been friends for since 2018. We've had our ups and downs together, but I think we've kind of done a pretty good job at weathering that storm. And I feel like he's a very interesting individual, very creative individual, and he's a provocateur. Because I'd like to think of myself as a provocateur, and I'd like to think of my friend Jamie. He also goes by Lycan theory, also Lycan Legion, and I like to think of him also as a provocateur. It's a job that I think is he's well suited for, and he's a trigger master. He's a trigger king.
A trigger machine.
You are, man. You are the fucking. You're way better than Gunner.
Way better than Gunner.
You really are. You really are. So we'll get into some of that. Talk about some of that because you have a lot of power over a lot of people and they've given it to you. Which
I live there rent free in their heads.
You really do. And so I think that's an interesting thing that we can kind of get into here as we unfold this little conversation together. So it's Jamie Lycan theory. We kind of provocateur, troll, trigger king, trigger master is with me today on Reflections.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you here, man. It's really good to have you here. I think this could be epic. This could be an epic interview. We'll see how this goes, but I think we could.
It could be. It could be. I feel it's a little bit too professional, but that's just me. I feel like I'm at a job interview.
Yeah. Well, okay. I want you to relax, though. I don't want you to feel that way, so I want you to be relaxed.
Literally, just so everyone knows, I'm going to dox this information. The first word that I saw when MJ emailed me was interview. And I'm like, oh boy, this is already professional and right out the gate.
Only because I'm trying to do a professional podcast format. And so with that said, I want you to feel free to cut loose and say what you want to say and all that kind of stuff. So first of all, let's kind of let the audience know. So recently you've had some pretty heavy shit happen to you. Some pretty heavy things have happened to you lately. You lost channels and whatnot. And tell the audience a little bit about what happened and kind of the circumstances around that.
Okay. So I guess without explaining the whole story in excruciating detail.
But keep it brief.
I'll just say
executive summary.
I'll just say that this all unraveled due to the result of a breakup with a toxic, malignant narcissist, possibly a psychopath. This woman who I was dating had lied to me about pretty much everything. She was being disingenuous, and she tried to gaslight me and make it all be my fault when she was hiding a significant number of things from me during our relationship. And even though this is YouTube, I did actually meet her through YouTube. She came onto my panel last year just out of nowhere, and a lot of people immediately were like, red flag,
Mm-hmm.
They were like,
I remember
run
that
now. Even Mr. Ka was like, run, just run. And I really should have listened to those people back then, because they were right on the money, and they couldn't even explain it back then. They couldn't say exactly what was wrong. They just thought, well, why is it that, it's everyone else is to blame for whatever she's explaining here?
Mm-hmm.
How come she, somehow she's the victim in every, thing that she says, and she's never done anything. That's just bizarre. Who gets into all this drama on here? And then is never taken real part in it. And the answer is, she is a big shit starter. She is just a toxic person, and she sells herself as a victim, mm-hmm. And that's how she gets into people's good graces. So that's how she wound up in my community, and we all accepted her in. We all thought she was, a good person. We all thought she was funny and all that. And then, the breakup was just, it wasn't even really so much of a breakup. It was a long drawn out, it's like bloodletting, it just kind of left a cut in my arm and just let me bleed out, for months. Because she did the whole narcissist, cycle where they they love bomb you, then they devalue you, then they discard you. Except she kept oscillating between love bombing and devaluation over and over. And the discard was just, it was such a long drawn out thing. But in any case, so after the big blowout breakup, I guess you want to call it, she came out against me on YouTube and started to align with my enemies. And a sequence of events unraveled to the point where she started to strike my channels. So she started to, and I have this pretty much, down to which videos were struck and why they struck my channels down. They struck them down for circumvention. So if you get a community guideline strike, right, you cannot post on your channel for a week. Okay. Mm-hmm. So apparently, if you can't post on your channel for a week, that means you also can't go to other channels and stream there, or make videos there or post. Mm-hmm. So I think I didn't know that, honestly. I thought maybe, okay, I just can't use that channel. I'll just use this other channel. I didn't know that I couldn't just jump to another channel. But apparently that's in the TOS. And so these people were keeping track of all the strikes they were getting on my channel. And then I was also getting some strikes on Lycan theory as well. Just randomly, it seemed. Like I had one on an old EDP video, that weird, that black guy who's like a pedo or something. There's another like upload I had that was private, that was someone else's stream. It wasn't even my stream. I just had it uploaded like 2 years ago or something. I just saved it there for like, evidence. Mm-hmm. That got struck down. And so that channel just, had a strike, I think, on it, or 2 strikes. And then Lycan Legion, the one that had the 5,000 subs, which I built up just in the last 2 years, that also had 2 strikes on it from me uploading just receipts videos, just mm-hmm. videos that were showing screenshots, right? But the way that they flagged them in such a way that it gave me strikes, I guess, for sexual content.
Okay.
So I was down for 2 weeks on Lycan Legion, and I had 2 strikes, and strikes expire after 90 days. But the penalty for, like getting a strike, it wears off after a week for 1 strike, and 2 weeks for 2 strikes.
Okay.
So after the second strike, I shouldn't have been posting anything anywhere, really. Mm-hmm. But that's not what I was doing. I basically at that point I decided to hide the channel because I was like, well, I don't want to be taken down because at some point someone's going to strike another video and then that channel's gone. Mm-hmm. And because with YouTube it's 3 strikes you're out with community guidelines. With copyright, it's a bit muddier. You can always come back with from 3 copyright strikes. You just do a counter, mm-hmm. and then you're pretty much good. And then your channel will get your channel back like in a month. With community guidelines, it's much more harsh, much harsher punishment. And it's much harder to come back from a community guidelines, thing. And then when they take your channel down for circumvention or some other policy violation, some TOS violation, it's really hard to get out of that. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Doesn't mean you can't come back. It's just, it's a lot harder. So at some point, I guess they reported my channels for circumventing. I'm not even sure how the fuck they knew to do that. I don't know who did it exactly. Someone emailed them. I don't have all the information, but they reported some videos. They said the videos were taken down. It might have been whatever. It doesn't matter. Point is, when they got one channel down, they reported the channel for circumvention. It took all my associated channels down. That includes both Lycan Legion channels, Lycan Theory, Lycan's Clips and Giggles, Starbuck the Kitty, and Coca-Cola.
And Starbuck went down too. Now, which channel was it that they got you for circumventing?
I believe it was Lycan Legion, either the new one or the old one. Okay. It was probably the old one because that's the one that had the strikes.
Right, the 2 strikes. So explain a little bit. Go into explain to those people who aren't well versed in the YouTube universe, which is a very peculiar universe. What is circumventing?
Circumventing is when you have some kind of community guideline strike on your channel and you are punished with not being able to post or upload for a week. And instead of obeying that, you decide to circumvent the policies and stream elsewhere or upload elsewhere. There's other ways, I think, to circumvent technically the policies on the platform. Like, well, and these people were trying to lecture me about, well, the reason you got taken down is because you circumvented your monetization. You know, once you got your monetization taken away, you tried to remonetize on another channel. You can't do that. Actually, there's no rule about that in the TOS. Nothing to do with monetization. If it was against the TOS, I wouldn't be able to monetize that other channel and link it to the same AdSense account. They would tell me, you've already been demonetized. You're done. But they didn't do that. They were allowed me to monetize yet another channel. I had Lycan Snark monetized for years, actually, because that was Punksthetic, remember?
Right.
Then I changed it to Cinema Snark, and then Lycan Snark finally. And then when I decided to create the new Lycan Legion channel, I was like, I'm going to monetize this one in less than a month. And I did. In less than a month, I monetized that channel. I built it up from pretty much scratch. I've had the channel for years, technically, but I built it up to 1,000 subs, and it got up there, and I had everything I needed. And I was going to go live that night with a monetization stream, and then they took all my channels down in one morning.
Yeah, I saw that. I was, I forget what I was doing. I was doing something else when I came onto YouTube, and that was the first thing I saw was Lufa's community post was in my feed, and that screenshot, and I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, oh shit, okay. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be really interesting what happens here. So, all right. So this, of
course, it was Lufa that you'd find that out from.
Yeah, I think she was the only one or she was the first one anyway that posted the news, I believe. Anyway, right. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure there were a lot of people that jumped on that. And they're still like, they're trying to take me down any way they can now. Like, even if I'm on like,
you lost that ghost channel, right?
Yeah, I lost the ghost channel, and I know the reason why, because it had literally Lycan Theory in the name, so it was pretty, you know, it was pretty clearly linked to the other channels. I think that's why they were able to take it down.
Yeah, okay, and so this is kind of like you're kind of doing what Natasha Cooper, and so for those, I'm kind of mentioning some names that most. Who knows, whoever listens to this, but these are relatively, small YouTubers. But Natasha Cooper is a well-known grifter on YouTube, and she's had multiple channels, and she's been taken down multiple times. And then she, one of the ways that she tries to get around some of, this being taken down is to use different names, to use names for her channel that aren't associated with the other channels, and with varying amounts of success.
Yeah, and I would just say that also would be considered circumventing, because you're not allowed to create another YouTube channel once you've been taken off the platform. Once you've been banned, you cannot create another channel.
So you
can't run one. You can't create one.
Okay, so you're officially banned from YouTube at the moment.
I'm officially banned from YouTube as of now. Until at such point, maybe if at some point they decided to unban my channels. Then I wouldn't be banned anymore. But as of now, yes, I am banned from YouTube.
Okay. And are you in the process of, is it an appeal process, or, what is there?
There is an appeal process.
Okay.
I will say that it's not something that's so cut and dry.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the response that you want right out the gate.
Sure.
You're just not. But I've known people, they've told me that they went through the same kind of appeals process with their channels, and they tried for months and months, and then finally they got their channels back. So maybe if I persist, it will do something. I'm hoping that's what it takes. But
it's going to probably take a while. It's not going to be soon. The time frame for this is long term.
Yes.
All right. So this is kind of an interesting scenario, I think. And so we have this individual, and I don't know if you want to really drop names. I mean, I already dropped Lufa's name, but whatever. She's kind of, whatever.
It's probably best to not drop names.
All right, I was kind of thinking the same thing, but I just,
unless they're like a major player or something, let's avoid names. Okay.
We'll avoid names. So
Natasha Cooper, I think, is probably fine to name drop.
Yeah, I know, but she's not really involved. Well, that I know of in any of this. Lufa is. I mean, she's been, I don't know why she's got such a hard on for you, but she does, man.
No, I mean like an important person in the overall communities.
Right. Yeah, a big name. Yeah, I get it. So, all right. So let's kind of try to get into some of this. This is a community. You entered into this female dominated community over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
and you have been
My fate was sealed.
you pretty much. I mean, I told you. I mean, I knew this was, I didn't know this was going to happen, but I knew it wasn't going to be good. So, you've been an inflammatory figure. You've been a provocative figure in this community. You've been triggered the fuck out of a lot of these women. And
Yeah.
so, why do you think that is? Why do you think so many of these women in this community just are so adamant about destroying your reputation and your livelihood on YouTube?
I think it's because I'm different to what they expect. I don't fall in line with whatever their preconceived notions or beliefs are about stuff, and I'm kind of a lone wolf in a lot of ways. They can't control me, and I think that scares them. Someone who they can't control scares them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they think if they can't control me, they have to destroy me.
It seems to be, I mean, ostensibly, the reason why they're trying to cancel you is because there's been some racist, some misogynist, and I was involved in some of those racist comments as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was, full disclosure here, I'm not proud of it, but it was what it was. I'm a writer, and so I go into all sorts of places. Nothing is off limits for me as a writer, and so to me that was just a creative expression, and it was that way for you too.
Yeah.
It got twisted into other things.
These people don't understand that. They don't understand what it's like in a creator's mind, or
Right.
how a creator expresses themselves.
I mean,
it's not always PC. It's not always, going to follow some kind of moral line or societal line. We think outside the box. We are not afraid to offend people,
I mean, how do you think we create bad guys, evil characters? I mean, you have to go there. You have to go to that place in order.
Yeah, you have to understand. You have to be able to understand them. That doesn't mean that we are them. It means we understand that kind of person.
Exactly. And there is a very big difference between embodying those characteristics and portraying those characteristics. And
exactly.
And I don't think that, people really do. And that's, they hear you saying those things, even, in an obvious, shtick, with accents and whatnot. And, oh my God, you must be that kind of a person. And it's just, I don't want to get too far into that stuff yet, but like the whole pedophile thing. It's like, there's just these accusations that get thrown around out here like candy, or it's impossible to take it seriously at this point. But, so anyway, I'm going to kind of stick on this, all right. So ostensibly they, and then you have been canceled. I mean, at least for the moment, you're canceled on YouTube. And, this has been a concentrated effort from multiple parties for a while now. I don't know if it's been the whole, but at least since like around the summertime, I think is when a lot of this kind of started. I would say it's not about the issues of like circumventing. Oh, you broke the rules. You circumvented. From my point of view, I think that's the cover story. Those to frame it like, this was some kind of, you're a rule breaker and YouTube decided to take you down because you're a rule breaker. But I think it's a more personal for a lot.
I'll tell you exactly what it was. As I explained before, the videos that I uploaded were not like meant to break any rules or guidelines. They were meant to prove a point. They were showing text messages that were meant to debunk lies. That was the purpose of the videos that were struck. And the person who they were about could not handle that. And so they had to strike the content down. And the fact that I didn't really know that if I streamed elsewhere after getting a strike would be circumventing, and that's why I went down, I'm kind of an inadvertent rule breaker there in that case. Yes, I do sometimes go and break the rules about stuff, but when it comes to my channel, I wouldn't fuck around with that if I knew better, if I knew that it could result in such a harsh penalty, I wouldn't have done it.
So, but you did post some censored, some redacted pornographic images on your community wall. Questionable. I mean, it's a questionable move.
Questionable, but
a lot of people's part. But Talk about that.
It had that had nothing to do with the removal of my channels.
Okay, that the pornographic stuff. Okay, so it really is ultimately what brought you down was the circumventing.
The circumventing.
Did they
Yes.
were any strikes or attempted strikes? Did anybody attempt to put any strikes on those pornographic images? And
They
you think
probably
that
attempted.
they
They
okay,
attempted. Yeah,
but
they
it never
attempted
was.
to. No, they
Okay.
attempted to strike the post. They attempted to report the post on Twitter. They
Mhm.
went out of their way. They showed the stuff off like, hey, this guy's doing this, look, did nothing. Unless there's an actual like nude image or pornographic image there, they're not going to do anything with that. You know, it's got to be something that's unredacted, something that's explicit. Explicit means uncensored.
Right.
Showing full graphic, either nudity or sexual acts taking place. There was nothing being really shown like that. So there's nothing to flag for. And I ended up taking down the post anyway, within a short amount of time. So they wouldn't have had anything to really, report anyway.
How long were they up for?
Once a post is taken down or a video is taken down,
that's it.
That makes it, that's it. You can't report it anymore. It's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. How long were they up for?
Probably a few hours.
Few hours. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know. I mean, we all, we're all adults here. We all know what those images were showing. Redacted or not. Right. I could see. Look, this is where it does get a little stickier because it's such a back and forth between you and several people, and it's really hard. From my point of view, I just can't really point any fingers at any one party and say you're responsible for this. I mean, I just have to look at, for anybody to be outraged about those kinds of images after the kinds of things that they have put on the internet to attack you, to humiliate you, to demean you, right or wrong. I mean, it's hard for me to take it seriously, the outrage. About that kind of the stuff, but yet there is a lot of outrage about those kinds of things. And is it justified? I mean, in your mind, do you think these people have a leg to stand on? Do they have a strong position when they come out against you to say you're a bad person? Taste aside, good taste, bad taste aside, do these people have a leg to stand on when it comes to attacking you for those kinds of things?
Can I be candid?
Please.
I think they're enabling cunts.
And who are they enabling?
They're enabling the psychopathic narcissism of these fake victims. Okay. And they're giving them not just a platform, but power to inflict that damage on more people. Did I react poorly in certain instances? Yeah, I'll own that. But that doesn't mean that I started the fire. I've in fact, a lot of times I tried to put out the fire, and they never walked away. Now they want me to walk away after they've already done the most damage they could to me. It's not really as simple as that. And I'll just say, karma works both ways.
I agree with that. Yeah,
I'm sure
there's a lot of negative karma on their side for sure.
Oh yeah, they're racking up a ton of it right now.
Yeah.
And the thing about karma is it's kind of like telling a story. When you're doing a lot of bad shit to someone, you're in basically the middle part of the story. There's going to be a climax at a certain point. There's going to be a plot twist, if you will, and that's going to come back to bite the person who is doing the bad shit. So I'm not saying I'm a victim. I'm not saying that, all this bad stuff was done to me and I didn't do anything wrong. Of course I did some stuff wrong. There's some stuff I wish I could take back, obviously. But we're at where we're at. And I'll just say, I was provoked 100%. They provoked me into reacting a certain way, and they got exactly the response they were looking for. And that's their manipulation at play. So, yeah.
So you were manipulated. You're saying that you were manipulated into reacting in a negative way. Okay. Well, let's kind of maybe drill down on that a little bit, because I think that's an interesting thing. I mean, you've been out here. I mean, you've been playing this game for a few years. This tit for tat gotcha kind of game that is just so prevalent out here on YouTube.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, part of me is a little surprised. I'm just going to be honest with you here, dude. I think part of me is a little surprised that you haven't learned your lesson by now to not react to those provocations.
Yeah, well, there's some things that it's tough to really learn, your lesson. Sometimes there's only one way to learn that, and that's the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not easy. You don't always learn your lesson the first time or the second time or the third time.
Or the 20th. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you on that. Yeah.
But I will say, in general, when it comes to this tit for tat shit, there is a predictable end to it, right? It's kind of like eye for an eye, right?
Well, nobody wins out here. Nobody wins. There are no winners.
Right.
In this game. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, yeah, did I make a mistake? Yeah, I did. Made a pretty big mistake. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, the reactions to the provocations were not exactly what brought me down. It was it was a tactical error.
Okay.
I uploaded, what I should have done was I should have uploaded those videos to like a sock channel or something that I didn't care about losing. And then that way it wouldn't have mattered if the channel went down, and probably nobody would have even noticed.
And you normally do that. I mean, I know that you have several sock accounts out there. You do upload those types of troll videos.
Yeah. But if I'm being honest, I think I got, I think I probably got cocky.
Yeah.
I released it on, I got sloppy, and I released it on the main channel because I was like, well, let's just drop the receipts here so everyone sees them, why not? It's just fucking text, there's nothing that sensitive there. But apparently it was extremely sensitive to drop those text messages. And that would result in a strike. So now I have to be extremely careful about whatever gets dropped from now on,
Would you call this hitting bottom in terms of your YouTube career?
I'd say so. Yeah. This is probably hitting rock bottom at this point.
You think you learned your lesson this time, or at least with regards to that kind of stuff?
I think I've learned my lesson this time.
So going forward, I mean, do you have, other than trying to get your channels back, and other than sort of continuing on this back and forth, because they're not going to quit. They're just going to keep coming at you and taking down, or at least trying to take down your channels. What's next for Jamie Lycan Theory as far as YouTube is concerned?
As far as YouTube is concerned, well, I'm going to try to, I guess, just, I'll come as a guest on people's panels. There's nothing against the guidelines in doing that. There's nothing against TOS in being a guest on someone's panel. I've opened up my Patreon, which, I'm sure you're going to provide a link for in the description of this.
I will. Yeah. You give me any and all links. No, for sure. I mean, any, Cash App, PayPal kind of stuff. Yeah. I will include.
Cool.
Yeah.
And, so basically just opening up other avenues for me to, I guess, stream from, make content for. I'm on Rumble now, Twitch,
okay. Oh, you
Kick.
are? Okay. Look at you.
Yeah, I'm opening up a different, avenues just so, I don't put all my eggs in one basket. I mean, to be real, like when it comes to YouTube, this is not a platform that was meant for very creative people who have controversial opinions.
Well, not anymore. It used to.
Not anymore. It used to be a rebel renegade
platform. It was. It really was. In the beginning.
But not now.
And not anymore. No, because all the soccer moms came in, and they want it to be clean and sanitized and G-rated, and and that's but you knew that, though. I mean, coming into that community, I'm going to call it Karama. I don't know what else to call it. So I'm going to call it Karama. And you knew that. I mean, I knew that about.
Oh yeah, I knew that. I thought I could just come in here and trigger some Karens and make some money.
Yeah. And you did.
Yeah.
So you were, for over a year, you were successful at doing that. But you have a gift for triggering people. let's kind of drill down on that for a little bit here. Why do these women hate you so much?
I just don't give them what they want. You know, they ask for some kind of coddling or sensitivity to whatever they're going through or their problems or their traumas or whatever. They want you to agree with everything that they think about this person or that person. And I'm just not that. I don't fall in line. There's a lot of dudes, you know, men, I say that loosely, around that community that, you know, they have no backbone. They have no spine, you know, and you can tell when you hear them, you know, and they're just always simping for a woman that they're not with. It's so bizarre for a man to simp to a woman that he's not dating or he's not married to or have children with, you know. It's like, who is this woman to you? You know, I could understand maybe like just having basic respect for her, but some of these guys like go out of their way to defend these women. And I'm like, it's just bizarre to me. And I wouldn't defend any of them unless they were like really good supporters of mine or like a really good friend or a girlfriend or a wife, you know, or, you know, some family member, whatever. That's the only way that I would really defend them. Not some random woman on here, you know, just because she has a vagina. That's why these dudes go out of their way to defend them, you know. So these women, it's like, I'm not the beta simp that they want me to be. You know, I think they also probably see potential in me to be someone who could, you know, be successful, you know, as a, you know, as a speaker, as a creator.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and someone who could lead,
someone
who could lead a community, you know, and yet I'm not taking on their causes and they hate that.
Right. I think that's a very feminine kind of thing, that level of conformity, you know, and even the women, you know, they're fragmented, you know, but at least, you know, within their certain tribes, you know, there's an expectation that, you know, when we decide that, you know, we're going to go after this person, that everybody's going to come along for that raid against that person. I get that masculine rebellion against that kind of feminist conformity. But don't you think it goes a little bit deeper than that? I mean, because you mentioned sort of, you know, respect. I mean, don't you think you've shown a lot of those women over there a large amount of disrespect?
Yeah, possibly. Maybe it seems, you know, apparent that I don't respect them at all.
Yeah.
And they probably are, you know, they feel such disrespect from me that they are now, you know, they feel spiteful over it. Like, well, if you're not going to respect me or the people that I like, then fuck you. You know, that's just very spiteful, vindictive kind of feel.
Do you think it goes a little bit even more beyond that too? I mean, because I think it's a little complicated, and that's why I find this interesting, because I think there's lots of ways to look at this, and there's lots of layers to this. And I think while I think it is personal, they do have, for example, some of the disrespectful, cruel things that you've said to people, actually some women who are now on your team, which is unusual to me, but okay, whatever. I mean, it's their choices. But that comment that you made about, you know, some women who are raped have orgasms. That is just a scientific fact. I mean, that is a thing, you know, and then it just got spun into all sorts of different directions, and it really lost the narrative in there. But I knew what you meant, but at the same time, I think it was just, they used that as an excuse to spin it and attack you.
Oh yeah. They had to make me out to be Lycan man bad because, you know, it was, they wanted to hate me, I think. You know, they didn't really give me many chances. And these were people who didn't like me already.
Right.
So I wasn't gonna, you know, try to win them over. I wasn't trying to win anyone over. You know, they wanted to talk to me, or they were concerned with me. So in my estimation, I mean, if they're not going to give me a chance, they're not going to like me anyway. What respect do I owe them?
Right. Sure. Yeah. Their minds were already made up, and they were just, at that point, everybody was just trying to get ready.
I think ultimately I have a very fuck it attitude towards people and the world. If they're already judging me, if they already don't like me and they're making all these judgments, then I'm like, okay, well, I don't give a fuck about you either. And I treat them as such.
Yeah. It's very eye for an eye kind of an attitude.
Yeah.
But at the same time, eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, and so somebody's got to be the one that rebels or deviates from that standard and,
Sure.
doesn't react, doesn't play that game. I mean, I think I would say that sort of is what maturity is, what being an adult is, not reacting to every little perceived insult or slight or offense.
Yeah, you're right. But YouTube is also built off of reactions to people.
Sure. Well, how much of this is just you playing the game, and how much of this is real? It's just
That's a good question.
Your genuine emotions and reactions.
That's a good question, because I've been accused of playing a character before, or working off of some kind of script or whatever. Nothing is scripted. I will say sometimes I choose to be a dick.
Mm-hmm.
And especially to people who I feel like have earned that from me, people who have shown me no respect, no regard. I just show them the same in kind. I basically mirror their behavior and their treatment of me back at them. So I would say it's genuine from that perspective, that it comes from me. It's not just something that I'm doing just for content. Though sometimes, yeah, I might make fun of someone or do something as a joke because I genuinely think it's funny in the moment. And, just reacting to people sometimes is its own form of a high, because you get to express yourself and a bunch of people get to agree with you and pay you for it. You know what I mean? Like it's got that certain kind of dynamic to it where it feels like you're putting on a show,
mm-hmm.
and just for being yourself,
mm-hmm.
Unabashedly, without shame.
We've talked to each other quite a bit in private, and that aspect of you, I think is well, I mean, we could get into a whole discussion about, why, how did that part of your character develop? I don't know how deep you want to go into that kind of stuff. I'm assuming not, but I also think it's a bit of a part of the wall. I think that's part of the wall that you put up, that asshole dickishness behavior. It's you, but it's a defensive you. And I think part of you is just, because, and I think people also need to see this too. Okay. Let me let's go here for a minute. I think people have to see this part of you too. You have taken hit after hit after hit after hit out here for years. And I mean, I remember saying like 2 or 3 years ago, I would have folded. The amount of shit that you have put up with from people out here, I would have just said, fuck it, man, I'm out. This isn't worth it. It has had an effect on you. It has. I mean, of course it has. You're still, regardless of what people want to say about you, you're a human being. You have feelings. You have a heart, and that shit hurts. And, especially you've built up this, wall, this shield, this, sort of calloused exterior. On one hand, it's helped you survive, but, at what cost? At what cost has your survival and success up till recently, has it been worth it for you?
Well, it made me a pretty good chunk of change over the years. I bought a condo. I bought a car from it. I made some good strides in my life just through talking, and it's something I really never thought I was going to do in life. I never thought when I was in my 20s, I never thought I would make a living from just talking on YouTube.
Talking shit on YouTube.
Talking shit on YouTube. Like, when people ask me, like, what do I do for a living? I'm like, I talk about my dick on YouTube.
And everybody else does too. Yeah.
Yeah. But and when you get down to it, that's ultimately what it is.
Yeah.
And I make a living from it. How many people can say that? But you're right. You're absolutely right. I've definitely built up a wall over the years. Because the minute that I have tried to show any amount of sensitivity or softness or vulnerability in any regard, either, giving a personal information or letting forth an emotion that I shouldn't or something like that, these people capture it in an instant and they replay it over and over and over again. Ad nauseum for the end of time.
Content,
for eternity. So,
mock you, But how has that affected you? I mean, if you want to go there, we don't have to go there if you don't want to, because they'll just turn this into content too. But on a personal level, how has that affected you?
on a personal level. Like when it comes to talking to other people?
Well, when it comes to the impact and the effect that all just these
The
years
impact.
of you being attacked by people and your more vulnerable moments on here turn into content to mock you. I mean, how has that affected you personally?
It's made me not want to open up as much to people. It's made me not
In
trust
private as
people.
well. In private as
Yeah,
well.
in
Yeah.
private as well. I always have to be mindful of the possibility that everything I say to people could wind up on YouTube someday.
Yeah.
And that's not a good feeling. You know, and people that I've met out here, I met some really good people, you know, people that I really enjoy and I trust and I care about. And then some of those people who I cared about turned on me and they did the worst thing they could to me. So it gets really hard to trust people when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you calloused, right? It makes you build up those walls because
of course.
if you don't, you get punished for it.
Which is ironic. I know. It's yeah.
So you have to protect yourself sometimes, you know. I mean, it's better to build up a wall than to not have one up at all.
Mm-hmm. And going forward, I mean, how is that now that, you know, at least for now that it's over, you know, your YouTube career, you know, other than, you know, being a guest on other people's panels, you know, but, you know, as far as you doing your own shows, what now for, you know, as far as like, you know, the personal stuff, you know, with, because now you've got to carry that with you. You know, you can't just say, I'm done with that wall. You can't just rip off that scab. I mean, you could, but it's going to be painful as fuck. So what, at the personal level again, what now going forward for you?
At the personal level concerning my friendships and stuff, or
Well, just your, you know, how do you, I would say, and you know, you kind of, you know, correct me if I'm wrong and, you know, elaborate on this. I would say you have built up a lot of baggage because of YouTube. How are you going to deal with that now going forward?
I have no idea.
Because it's,
See,
you know,
I'm the kind of person who, like, I'll think of, well, what's the easy problem to solve?
mm-hmm,
And the easy problem to solve for me is to make money.
mm-hmm,
So I solve that. And then I think, well, I'll sort out the other shit later when I have time. You know, stuff that's more complicated or stuff that, you know, costs some money over time.
mm-hmm.
You know, stuff that it's not necessary to go figure out, you know, it's just something that, well, yeah, I probably should get that done at some point, you know? So I guess, I don't know. You'd think like being banned off of YouTube would give me more time to pursue that stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it just puts me into panic mode where I have to figure out other options,
Mm-hmm.
and so it doesn't really give me any time unless I just decided I'm going to put all this shit aside and then focus on other stuff for a little while.
And are you doing any of that at the moment?
Not really.
Not really. Okay. A lot of anxiety, I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's a bit, yeah,
Fair bit. Yeah.
fair bit, but I wouldn't say I'm not like it's probably not as bad as it could be.
Yeah. Or as they would want it to be either. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it was that bad, I couldn't go on panels. I couldn't stream with people. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
it's not hitting me in that way. They're not getting the reaction they wanted to get.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
What do you think that reaction was? Just you for you to play the part?
They were begging and praying. I guarantee you, if you could give them a poll, they were begging and praying for a what's that that Eli Hart habit to break moment.
Where you go on air and sing a sad song.
Mm-hmm. That's what they were waiting for.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not going to give them that.
Yeah. Well, that's a smart move from
Yeah.
a YouTube game perspective. It's definitely a smart move. So, all right, what is it though specifically? I mean, you know, just beyond, you know, the provocations and, you know, mean words that you kind of throw out at people. I mean, you have a lot of power over a lot of people out here. Why do you think that is? Because to me, that is not, it's not a smart move on their part. They show their hand in that regard every day that they come out here
Right.
that you have. And I mean, I could throw out several names off the top of my head
Hmm.
of people who are just you. You are literally Hitler to these people. I mean, what? Why? I mean, because it baffles me, and that's why I'm asking this question. Because I'm baffled that so many people are so triggered by you and have given you so much power over their lives. Because at the end of the day, you're a small time YouTuber. So, I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, people are people, regardless of, how many subs they have on their channels and, power and influence they have on YouTube. But, what? what? Why are these people so obsessed with you?
I feel like a lot of times it's just like wading through a mental institution. I've said this many times. It's like we're dealing with a lot of not mentally well people out here.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all kinds of issues and baggage that they bring to the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to project those issues out onto others in unpredictable ways. So they meet someone like me, and I think it triggers something in their past or their
Like their
traumas
core
or something. Yeah, something right to their core. It triggers something there. And they react in such a way that they need to demonize me because it's just so triggering for whatever reason. So, it's not even like a personal thing, really. I think it has to do with whatever they're dealing with mentally and
their own psychotraumas sort of being acted out here on YouTube. Okay.
Yes. Now, there are some personal beefs, that some of them have with me, but I also just feel like, some of them are just obsessed because they have issues.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them have, especially the more intense ones, they have issues. They are not working out,
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, they think they're the sane ones. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect or don't have any issues to work out, but you don't see me raging about, a single person every day.
Mm-hmm.
Or bringing it all back to one person. If you're doing that, you have an unhealthy obsession and you need to seek help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
I would agree with that. I mean, I just, for, in the beginning, it was sort of, seems kind of harmless, I suppose. But I mean, year after year, 5 years now, at least, with me, you and me, I've been watching this for 5 years, and this has been going on pretty much the whole time. And all it's done has gotten worse in the last year, because of this larger environment of, and I was the one that, I labeled, a certain group of people, the Broken Girls Club. So, I could, and it's not all of them. I know it's not all of them. I just have to throw that caveat out there for people so I don't get fucking drawn and quartered. But I agree. I mean, I agree. And I think, and YouTube it's like a very unique place in that way where it is almost like a purgatory or hell-ish environment for people to project all of their shit, all of their trauma, all of their unresolved conflicts and their daddy issues and their mommy issues and all that kind of shit on to everybody else. And then it all just sort of gets acted out in this bizarre cocktail of individuals just, constantly going back and forth with each other. And it's disturbing on one hand. On another, it's kind of an interesting thing because it is almost like kind of a case study. But the thing too, that it just always just kind of fascinates me. And I've watched this in politics for a long, long time is how, the Democrats and the Republicans go at each other and they accuse each other of the exact same things. And yet nobody can see that they are both guilty of the things, they're projecting onto each other. And yet at the same time, their projections of, are true of both sides. And so, that's why I can't take any of this kind of stuff seriously, the drama stuff anyway, because, all of these accusations and all of these, assumptions and lies, and there's a lot of lies out here that get thrown around at you in particular, it's like they're coming from people who are just so obviously fucked up.
Right.
And so it's, and that it's like, how can you not see this? How can you not see that, this obsession that you have developed with Jamie is unhealthy, and it's a reflection of your own inner demons. And, maybe maybe you shouldn't be spending so much time trying to go after this guy and more time working on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I totally agree.
I mean, that's how I see it. I mean, that's my take on it.
I think everyone should spend more time working on themselves in these drama communities,
Yeah. And in general,
I think an integral part of drama communities, oftentimes, not all the time, but a lot of the time, is people just not working out their own shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so they act out that shit in these drama communities.
Yeah, absolutely. But yet nothing gets resolved. And so
it's just a perpetual cycle that they're caught in.
Yeah.
And this gives them some kind of relief or catharsis to act out on everyone else and spread their pain and misery.
Right. And it is kind of a case of misery loves company in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, instead of let's try to, work out some solutions, let's just go and just be miserable together. And it's like, fuck that.
Because I often ask myself, what are these people doing on here if they're not having fun?
Right.
YouTube is supposed to be fun. And they're
really
here to just be miserable all day. And I don't understand it.
A lot of them are, at least, from my point of view, they'll disagree, of course. We're having a blast over here. And it's like, you don't look like it. You just,
no.
But I guess if you get off on just, being cruel and lying about people and just making shit up and, canceling people for, no real good reason other than you just have a personal vendetta. I mean, if that's your thing, that's your thing. Knock yourself out, man. Go for it, but, and I just want to say this too, just, this caveat. I mean, this isn't about defending Jamie, and this isn't about, any of that kind of stuff. I mean, you and I, we've had our clashes, especially last year. I mean, we spent almost all of last year fucking clashing with each other in private. And, so it's not about that. And I'm trying to be very objective here, and my criticism about, any of those other people has nothing. It's not a defense of Jamie. It's just a straight up criticism of you people and what I've seen come out of these, these groups. I mean, I was talking about this stuff. I don't know if you remember it, but, back in 2018, 2019, this is essentially, what YouTube has become and the chat box and whatnot. It's the 2 minutes of hate from 1984. It's just, it's just an opportunity for people to come out here and just vent and, get out all their crap onto other people and project it onto other people, as a form, as a very superficial form of catharsis. But that's why, there's never any actual solutions or resolutions or healing, because it's a constant cycle and it's a constant repetition of that. It's just the daily, let's go on there. And, here's this guy and he's offered himself up as a scapegoat. And so let's fucking dogpile on this guy. And so, and, let's kind of pick up on that, the scapegoat thing. Cause I actually kind of talked about that a little bit in my first episode, which actually just dropped. My first episode of Reflections, this idea of, scapegoats. And I would say that you are essentially a scapegoat. I think that is kind of, for me anyway, that would be your central role in all of this. Talk about that a little bit.
I would agree. There's a movie called Mouse Hunt that I saw again recently. It's one of my favorites from Gore Verbinski.
Yeah.
You saw it?
A long time ago when it came out. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's a great family movie, but it's got some like adult themes that kind of make it enjoyable for all ages. So, I mean, it's basically like a live action Tom and Jerry cartoon,
Yeah.
But there's one part where one of the characters played by Nathan Lane says, because he gets fired from his job because he works in food and it's an infestation in the restaurant. And everyone just starts to hate him after that and demonize him, and he's talking to his brother and he's like, everyone, they need a scapegoat. They need someone to demonize and persecute, just like what happened with Galileo, throughout the annals of history. We've had scapegoats in various societies and cultures, and because it gives something for people to stand behind. You know, it's actually endemic to, remember one of the original videos that put out against Eli of them, the Ghostbusters scene where they're standing in front of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, I think it was, they were saying like they need something, you know, that speaks to the good nature in each and every one of us, you know, something good, something decent, something pure. And then they look at Eli's face, you know, and they all just look at him on the Statue of Liberty, you know, and just, it's so beautiful because it brought everyone together, you know, their
Right.
mutual hatred of this little man life coach, you know, silly little guy, you know, that gave people something to get together and laugh together with, you know, because sometimes hate is more powerful than love. You know, the love of something can bring people together, sure, but not like hate.
At least
so
on here.
If you can make that idea sellable, like if you can sell that idea of hating on a person, then a lot of other people will jump on board, you know? And I've participated in it, and it's happened to me as well. So I've seen both sides of the table by now.
Would you say that's karma?
It has no deadline. I mean, probably. I'd say what goes around comes around for everybody. You know, that's not unique to me or anybody on here.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
It's gonna, you know, the whatever these people have done to me out here is gonna come back to them. That's their karma. What I do is my karma. What they do is theirs. So it's not like anyone gets out of this, you know, and they are racking up a lot of bad karma.
Oh,
it's like, because like, you know, let's put this in perspective. You know, let's say I lose my channels. Okay. So I lost my channels. One of these people could literally die tomorrow. All right. Kind of puts things in perspective. And then I could get my channels back in 6 months. Who knows? You know, time distorts things, to quote a character from Rules of Attraction. You know, it's funny how like perspective kind of gives, like, makes us look at things through a different lens. You know, right now people see things from a certain perspective, and they're seeing me as like the lowest, like on the lowest, you know, rung of this whole thing. Right. But in 6 months, that could be totally different. Right.
Absolutely.
Some of these people could totally be down. They could be dead. They could get arrested. Who the fuck knows? You know, and I could get my channels back, or I could be a millionaire. Who the fuck knows what happened?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's all unpredictable. So I don't know. Part of me does just believe that shit just happens sometimes. You know, yes, there are consequences to our actions, obviously, but a lot of times things just come out of left field, and it's not easy to predict. You know, so I don't know. I'm in this weird limbo of like taking accountability for my actions, blaming it on the people who actually tried to get me taken down, and just thinking, well, you know, whatever, a random sequence of events just kind of was set in motion, and this was inevitable anyway, you know, from a cosmic sense, you know, and in even a deeper sense than that, death is inevitable. So it's depending on how micro or macro you're looking at the situation, you know. It's even hard to understand karma, because if everyone dies, what is everyone's ultimate karma? Death?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, if you believe that it ends at death,
what are you building toward in the end?
Right.
You know, even if you're racking up good karma, you're still going to die. It's not like you're going to live forever.
Right.
You don't get to cash karma coins in and then live for 300 years.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I believe in reincarnation, and, you know, I definitely believe in the concept.
Yeah, you're done.
Of energy, and energy lives forever. So, but yeah,
that's fine, but
it's one and done for you.
Okay. Yeah, it's one and done. And let me ask you about the reincarnation thing. Do you believe in the souls, like going into different bodies and shit like that?
I mean, from lifetime to lifetime, yes.
Okay. And it's just human souls, or do I go into a frog or something?
I think you're probably no. I mean, unless you have like really screwed up in this lifetime or a series of lifetimes, because to me, going into a frog is a big downgrade. You know, so that would be like a form of punishment, I suppose.
You wouldn't even live very long, though. How long do frogs last? Like a year?
Frogs. No, I think frogs live a little bit longer. Well, I don't know.
Okay,
That's a good
2
point.
years.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
not living that long.
we'll call it 5. Yeah, no, it's not that. So yeah, you
5
could,
tops. You know, a
well,
frog ain't living 10 years.
but we don't know. Time passage.
That's kind of a. I mean, that's more of a punishment. You know,
right.
like
Right. That's
you
what I'm saying.
get like a slap on the hand, and then you get reincarnated again a few years later. It's almost like going to jail.
Right.
You know, like karmic jail.
Exactly. That's kind of the point I was trying to make. It is. It's like, here you go sit in this frog's body for a few years and you think about what you've done. It's that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, I kind of sticking on this scapegoat thing. I mean, well, let me ask you this. I mean, how much did you've kind of leaned into the villain thing, but how much have you kind of leaned into the scapegoat thing as well?
Like as a selling point?
As well as a selling point, but also as just a form of content.
Okay, I'll say it probably started with Eli at some point, either 2019, 2020, when he started to label me and my community a certain way. I can't exactly remember. It was probably started from the Legion thing, that probably when I started calling myself Lycan Legion in 2020 or so. That's when, the whole group dynamic thing took off and people were trying to label me as some kind of cult.
A cult leader. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I think that idea started with JB Gunner. I think Eli was labeling JB Gunner as a cult leader originally, and then he transferred that to me, that title.
Yeah, that's where the whole they're using the Scientology on you. That's
the Scientology, that whole thing. And then, just going to different communities and stuff. Eventually, we wound up in the Karen community. That was completely rife because of the true crime people, the murderers, serial killers that they had come to know. They kind of ascribe those natures onto other people that they meet. Mm-hmm. So, obviously they know of Charles Manson, who was something of a cult leader. So they see me and they're like, oh, he's like Charles Manson. Look at his cult leader or his cult, his harem of women, it's I guess an easy comparison to make, even though it's not really true at all. It's just me kind of responding to some loudmouth bitches and then some women in the chat liking the entertainment value and paying me for it. Then they have some of the same opinions, probably most of the same opinions about some of these bitches. I wouldn't say that makes me a cult, because if people disagree, that doesn't make me kick them out. So I would say, once they started to label me that stuff, that's probably when I started to lean into it, because it's just more fun that way. Mm-hmm. It's more fun to just kind of lean into the tropes of like, oh yeah, I'm a cult leader. Look, here's me as Charles Manson. Oh, and we call ourselves Manson Legion and all that stuff. And
I remember that.
That was fun for a time. And we just kind of roll with it. Anytime they try to, accuse that, I think kind of just running with it and just kind of adopting it as your own makes you more powerful because you're untouchable. I think that's one of the reasons that one advocate lady quit, because she saw that there was no getting rid of me, and she didn't want to participate in any of this stuff anymore.
Okay.
So I would say, here's the thing about the villain thing. I don't think that I leaned into being a villain. Mm-hmm. I don't think that. I'm going to disagree with you slightly. What I leaned into was being an anti-hero. Like, for example, like Snake Plissken or something in Escape from New York. Yeah. He's the hero, but he does things his own way.
Yeah.
He's not there to hurt anybody. He's not just taking out his hurt onto people and trying to hurt others and destroy their lives.
He's just trying to survive his circumstances.
He's just trying to survive. And he's the hero of the story.
Yeah.
And he'll probably save some people along the way. He'll probably have a good time doing it.
Right.
Like a lot of anti-heroes. That's kind of how I saw myself.
Okay.
I don't always do the right thing. Sometimes my methods are unconventional, and sometimes I will do the wrong thing, as do a lot of anti-heroes. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've mostly derived my behavior on YouTube from my own personality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've just kind of projected it more outward.
Mm-hmm.
In private, in more personal affairs, I'm more low key, you know, and I'm just kind of like, talking about stuff, just being chill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like joking around. I like shooting the shit, you know, and not taking things too seriously. But when it comes to YouTube and these women out here that take everything ultra seriously and treat it like the biggest thing ever,
Keep your cereal, yeah.
I mean, it gives me carte blanche to just like,
just run roughshod over them.
Just run over them. It's like, you people are giving me everything I want, you know? And then they overreact, and then they, you know, they make like 700 posts. I'm like, oh, keep them coming, you know, like you're just feeding me now. You know, I'm not really like a troll. I'm not setting out here to trigger anybody on purpose. Most of the time, I just do it naturally.
Right. Exactly.
And a lot of times those, sometimes when they are triggered, I might try to trigger them again, you know, just because it's funny. I wouldn't say, like, I'm not a malignant troll. You know, I'm more of a fun loving troll.
Mm-hmm.
So
how much of people's reactions, and because I have to step back when I do take a step back from all of this, you know, and I'm, you know, just naturally I'm on the periphery anyway. How have these people not figured this out? How have they not learned their lessons? But then it kind of, that makes me wonder, well, maybe they have. And how much of this from, you know, I'm thinking of several different people in my head right now, of, you know, the sort of regular reactors to you. How much of this do you think is just them playing the game?
I'd say probably 75% of it is them playing the game. In terms of their genuine... in terms of their behavior,
mm-hmm.
and the types of content they put out, the types of streams they put out, I can see the motives behind it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're there to draw an audience. They're there to make money. They're there to get overly triggered so that they can accomplish these things. You know, all these things are in pursuit of a certain reaction on YouTube. They're not just like someone going live passionately because they feel like it.
Right. Because they have a genuine,
Yeah. So the other,
by this.
Yeah. But the other 25%,
yeah,
I will say is genuine emotion, like something they genuinely feel.
That's the basis
injected.
Of the theater that they create for YouTube.
Yes. It's the basis. They feel that way, but it's not motivated towards a genuine end.
Right.
It's hollow.
It's hot, but then doesn't that ultimately undermine their entire position?
Well, it does to me. That's why I see them all as fake virtue signaling Karens.
Right.
And they're hypocrites too. You know, they'll call out someone for this and that, but then they won't call out people on their side for the same thing, or when they do the same thing. You know, or people want special treatment, and they'll treat you with a double standard. Like, you got to behave this way, but I can behave any way I want.
But how conscious is that, do you think? I mean, that's always what I am always loving. How conscious are these reactions?
Good question. I'm going to say, I think they know better.
I think so too. I don't think these people are that dumb.
They're not dumb.
They're evil. And fuck.
I've posed this question to these people before. Dumb or evil? Pick one.
That's an interesting way to put it.
That might be considered somewhat of a false dichotomy, false dilemma.
But it's for our.
But I do believe it's either, look, you either are too dumb to understand the point, or you know the point and you're being deliberately disingenuous, meaning you're being evil, which you're just setting out to do something dishonest to hurt people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's what I considered evil. There's
one troll. I'm going to call that person a troll. You know, sort of the one that has, you know, been the biggest thorn in your side recently. I don't think she's that dumb. I just don't. I mean, I think I've talked to her enough to know that there's no way she knows.
She knows better.
Doing. Yeah.
She knows better. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's not dumb. She sometimes plays dumb, or acts like she doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah, kind of the Sergeant Schultz. I don't know. You know, that whole thing.
Yes. Yeah, she is a master manipulator. Is all I
That's
can
kind of my
say.
take on it too. I'm kind of there with you. Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's a few that I'm like I don't know, man. He might be that dumb. I don't know. But yeah, in her instance, she knows exactly what she's doing, and so do a lot of her associates.
Mm-hmm.
There's one associate I think is just too. I don't think she really knows what the fuck she's doing. I think she's trying to get to that point, but I'm pretty sure she's just kind of stumbling her way through.
Yeah. If you're talking about who I think you're talking about, that person
I'll put it in the
is
private
not
chat.
too bright. They think that they have a classic case of Dunning-Kruger
I
syndrome.
would agree with that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, they're too unhinged. At least and they've been unhinged for such a long time. It's too late for them to now sort of own it, and to own it in the sense that, to turn it to their advantage, if you know,
Right.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. They end up looking like a fool.
Right. Right. So anyway, some of this revenge porn stuff, let's kind of go into some of that for a little bit here. Cause
Let's do that.
Let's
cover that entirely.
It goes back a few years.
It goes back a few years. I could explain the whole saga of revenge porn.
Well, kind of give us a bit of a timeline here, because I have a pretty good idea, and because I know it started with that one particular Southern girl, but yeah, and one of her cohorts, and a fucking guy who's been a huge pain in the ass for a lot of people out here. But yeah, kind of, how did all this start? This revenge porn thing? You kind of lay out the timeline and whatnot for us.
I think what might be more nutritional value for your listeners is just to, tell them to not trust anyone out here. If you're on YouTube, especially if you're a content creator,
it's true.
Don't trust anyone with any private information that you wouldn't want.
Don't share your dick pics. Yeah, don't share
right. Anything that you wouldn't want to be put on the YouTube platform, like publicly. Don't say it in private to anyone connected with YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, as a general rule, and I've heard people say this before, and I've said this myself: don't say anything in private that you wouldn't say in public, or share.
Yeah.
I mean it just.
I don't even want to recount the whole years of this crap, especially not now.
Let me ask you this question: did you ever, as an individual, did you post any of your pornographic material to any porno websites?
No.
Who did that?
Well, I'm gonna say that I believe. Should I name the person?
I'm going to leave that up to you if you want to drop names.
Pretty sure it was the Mad Shangy who did it.
Yeah.
Because he got my revenge porn from that Southern woman. And he put it up on these porno websites. It's the same video that I gave her. And I had nothing to do with that. He did it being purely vindictive because a year earlier, JB Gunner, laughed at him jerking his, stuff
I remember
on a live stream on D Live, I think.
All right.
Yeah, because he didn't want to get struck on YouTube, so he played on D Live.
Okay.
So I don't know. But yeah, and because I was in a chat box saying like, oh, you got what you deserve, Shangtard, he decided to come after me like almost a year later and do the same to me. Right. Just for being in a chat. It's not like I did it. Right. And it's not like I had any real connection to this dude either. We weren't friends, So, I mean, it's just for him to go out of his way to extract that stuff from a girl that I was talking to and then put it out is probably one of the most psychopathic things I've ever seen. That was one of the worst things that ever happened to me on the platform at that point. Honestly, though, I would take that now over what's recently happened.
What's happening now? Yeah.
While that's no fun, and he also put up like tons of uploads of that video onto YouTube itself as well. The channels got struck down, obviously.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
but he uploaded like on 10 different accounts. He really overdid it.
Is that
I wasn't even coming at the guy. This guy's just a psycho.
Right. No, he's got his issues for sure. Is that the only video that has been distributed, or are there others?
That's the only video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There might be others forthcoming. Who the fuck knows? You know,
Oh,
I can
God,
never
wow.
tell.
Okay.
But I don't think so at this point.
So the dick pic stuff. I mean, I'm going to be a little antagonistic here about some of the things that go on here, because I take issue with the switching of a lead, the flip flopping. And I don't feel like I'm a hypocrite. I mean, you and we've had our issues with each other, and we've had our moments where we kind of split for a while. Months, we don't talk to each other, but I've never turned against you. I've never, I flipped, but I've never flopped against you. So I really don't feel like I'm being a hypocrite here. That said, I do take issue with a lot of the mercurial way with which alliances flow on here. And, there are people now that you associate with who were mocking you last year, about this kind of stuff. I mean, how does that make you feel? And how do you justify sort of taking some of these people into your, under your, I don't want to say under your charge, but into your group? I mean, talk about some of that for a little bit.
I'm not exactly sure who you're talking about.
Well, okay, I'll name names. So Country Joe and Sally Ann. You mocked Sally Ann last year as well. And I could kind of, and a lot of people do feel like, it's, Sally Ann sort of switching her allegiances and coming over here, now, there, and we could get into this whole, are they Trojan horses? Because there is a conspiracy theory out there about CJ being a Trojan horse.
Nah, she ain't no Trojan horse.
Yeah. How do you go after somebody like Sally Ann the way you did and CJ the way you did? And, for them to come at you the way that they did. I mean, it was, you could say it's all just words and whatnot, but it was it was vitriolic. It was very vitriolic on both sides. How do you justify, I'm going to use the word justify because I don't know what else to say, the now being, cool with them?
I don't know. I think a lot of people misunderstand me. I'm actually a very accepting person. If someone's willing to be cool and apologetic and own up to things they've done, I can do the same, and we can just make up and be cool. Okay. I think a big part of this also was the fact that these people were not my mortal enemies.
Right.
They're nobody who I would think, like, I don't want to be near that psychopath. You know what I mean? They're not that kind of person, neither of them.
They're just sort of,
they're just sort of who they are, and I get how they could overreact and fly off the handle and maybe be dishonest here and there. And maybe they might, they're emotional. I get that. I can see, that's the thing. I understand people like that, because I can be like that. What I don't get are the malignant, psychopathic people who go out of their way to destroy people for no real reason. That's what I don't understand,
other than a personal vendetta.
Right. So for me, it's like, it wasn't that big of a deal to take them in. And honestly, I see through a lot of their shit.
Sure.
It's not going to hurt me in the end. So it's just going to hurt them. So it's not something that I'm overly concerned about when it comes to taking them in. It's like, for example, years ago with that red pill fizzing guy, you don't know he's a fucking lunatic, in the way he overreacts to everything.
Right.
But he's kind of fun to have on panels and do impressions of him and stuff. And he makes it, funny and all that. It gets old, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like that, like, what's it going to hurt?
Right.
I mean, I've dealt with way worse, and that, MJ. Oh, for sure. Yeah. So, for me, I think it's more of a what's it called? Desensitization to these kinds of behaviors, where I'm like, I've dealt with way worse than that, so I'm not worried. Right.
Sure. There seems to be an argument on the other side about being genuine. They say, I would disagree that, how genuine are any of them over there, but there is this idea anyway that the people that you associate with, that means something, that when you associate with somebody, when they're sort of a part of your team, that, now you sort of, there's some kind of a bond there, even though it might be, in my mind, it's pretty superficial, and so I think they take issue with this kind of idea that, like, for example, one of the accusations that gets leveled against you is that you're just using these people for money. You're just using these people for views, et cetera, that it's just all part of the YouTube game, and that you don't really give a shit, now whether or not any of them give a shit about, any of their subs and whatnot, is debatable. But there is sort of this, and I've noticed it tends to be more of a feminine thing than a masculine thing, that it's like instant friends, and there's like an instant bond, with these people. And, now we're buddies and all that kind of shit. And they seem to take offense at this idea that it's more of a transactional relationship, as opposed to something that ostensibly is more genuine and real. I mean, do you think there's any merit to any of that?
Well, I would say that, when it comes to my channels, obviously I like to get paid. I like to get donations. I like people appreciating what I do, my work. And most of the time, the people who are supporting me are pretty cool. They're very supportive. We're like-minded about a lot of stuff. May have some disagreements, but for the most part, they agree with what I'm saying. They agree with my perspectives on stuff. And I mean, would I say that makes us like friends? Not exactly. I would say, they're my supporters. They support me. And so though I guess that would go for the subs. Now, when it comes to people who come in who aren't payers, they're not donators. They're just like people that come into the community who, let's say, we had drama with or something, and we're not like, they're not exactly like, they're supporters, but they're also like previous enemies or agitators or something. For me, I can't imagine just saying to, like, even if I don't particularly like someone, or I'm not like, if I'm on the fence about someone, or I don't care for, to have every interaction in the world with the person, I can't imagine, believe it or not, just saying to that person, hey, fuck off, I don't want you around. That seems incredibly rude and just mean. So, I mean, if someone wants to hang around my group, why not? As long as they can behave themselves and not, they're not a liability to me or anyone I care about. If they're not doing anything shady, then why not? Yeah, you can hang if you can have a good time. You're not a fucking buzzkill. Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
It is just YouTube after all. I mean, really.
Right. It's just YouTube. We're here for fun anyway. So as long as we're having fun, who cares?
I mean, would you say that, some of the people on the other side who do have a different take, where it is all about, if you're on our team, then, we're all friends and all that kind of stuff. Do you think that they're disingenuous about some of that kind of stuff, and maybe they take it a little too seriously?
I think they're just completely hate bonded over there.
Yeah, it's just
they just hate the same people. They were never friends before their mutual hatred of me or someone else. And that's literally it. That's the only reason they came together. Had nothing to do with anything else. They were attacking me, and then this other person who recently fell out for me started to hate me and went along with them. It's pretty simple. For me, I've always been pretty individualistic. I do my own thing. I have my own opinions about shit. So, I mean, if someone gravitates to my channel, okay, that doesn't mean I'm going to take on their beefs or always agree with everything they want me to. Everyone's got their own agendas out here,
Absolutely.
And sometimes when you don't go along with their agendas, then they flip on you, or they turn their attention to someone else.
Right. Because you're of no use or service to them anymore.
Yeah. It's like what we were talking about before. The reactions that people have to me out here, sometimes they're extremely antagonistic and overreactive. Well, some of the reactions are just apathetic, right? because, well, okay, they can't use me. That doesn't mean they hate me. It just means I'm not of use to them right now.
Mm-hmm.
In a year, I could be their favorite person, depending on who I'm going at.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. It's so obvious. I mean, at least to me anyway, and I think to you, it's when those kinds of things happen, it's just so obvious what's really happening. And how do you think people justify those kinds of behaviors out here? I mean, like the person, that we've been, who has been the biggest thorn in your side recently. I mean, how conscious of a move was that? And everybody else associated with it? I mean, do you think that they really know what's going on, or are they that just sort of clueless about their own motives?
I think some of them genuinely feel that she's a victim, because I don't think they would put their own reputations on the line if they really thought she was that big of a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of them are that delusional, or they're just that dumb or convinced or whatever, or driven by this idea that I'm some kind of disgusting person, that person must be vindicated in however they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If someone's against me, well, that must make them a good person, right?
Right.
That's how they think about it.
You think it's that simple for some of these people?
Yeah.
It's really that black and white. Yeah.
It's that black and white. If you hate Lycan, you must be a good person.
Yeah. Yeah. With us or against us kind of a thing. That troubles me. That kind of, it really does. Wow. And I think there is a lot of, what goes on. People don't, and I've seen some people in the chats, like Daria, I've seen her talk about this before. There is anyway, it appears to be this way, where people don't move out of their own echo chamber to find out for themselves what's true and what's not about other people, and what, certain things that have gone down. I mean, how prevalent do you think that is? And how, I mean, is that just a feature of, people are just that fucking lazy and that stupid to just, take somebody else's word every single time for, what is true or not true about another person?
Well, once they have deemed you to be a terrible person, right?
That's it.
Once they've made that judgment, it then becomes okay for them to believe anything that's said about you.
It's just an absolute kind of a thing for them. It's just like,
yes.
Cut and dried. Okay.
What do you think they're going to change their minds?
I mean,
they're not going to go over to my channel and be like, I wonder if he'll vindicate himself today and make different.
I'm hopeful.
They're not open to it.
Yeah.
They've already made up their minds months ago, years ago, and they're not going to hear me out anymore. Right. They're going to hear someone else out who they already like.
Right.
Or just someone who hates me and thinks, when they're like, well, if you hate him, then I guess you have it all figured out.
Yeah. I guess it really just kind of boils down.
Confirmation bias.
There's a lot of that out there. No doubt about that. There's a lot of confirmation bias.
Since they already hate me, anything else they hear must also be true.
It must be true. Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of that out there. It's disappointing. I mean, I don't want to sound
the whole human race is disappointing.
It is. I know. Believe me. I hear you. It's just, I'm always hopeful. This
is why I'm a misanthrope.
Yeah. No, same. And it's something I struggle with, to not be, because I just don't want to be, I don't want to be like that, so I come on here sometimes and I'm hopeful, maybe people will be better today. And it's like, no, they're not. So it's just,
no, they just get worse.
They seem to. I mean, lately in this little part of the YouTube world, it really does seem to have gotten worse and worse and worse. I mean, the last, and it's almost been 18 months now, since you kind of became a part of Karama. I mean, it seems to devolve further and further, spiral downward. And, and people, of course, they blame you. I mean, how,
right.
I mean, how do you think
I'm to blame for the trashing of their shitty little community?
Right. You're responsible for everything, turning to shit. I mean, I just, that's I think that right there is a good example of, of confirmation bias and, people just, how do you,
I don't even think it's that. I mean, I came to a more sexist conclusion.
Yeah.
And it's because of the primarily female community.
I'm inclined to agree with that. I mean,
inevitably they're going to all take on the female perspective.
Yeah. I think that's a part of it.
So if
and
there's a large female content creator in the community, they're all going to take cues from her.
Yeah, it's because
and just fall right in line.
Yeah, it's just kind of the way that the feminine, because it is more collective and it is more of a following mentality. I kind of agree with that, and it's not sexist. I just think it's a built-in feature of the feminine. It's don't blame me. Blame the fucking whoever made you.
Blame female nature.
Yeah, blame female nature. And that's one of the things I'm always like, maybe take a look at that kind of stuff and then make different choices. It's kind of where I'm always coming from, but it rarely happens, and so I'm always sort of disappointed by the outcomes. But anyway, I am kind of inclined to agree with that. It's just it's and I think there is with those type of people, or a lot of those individuals that are over there, there's just a lot of as we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of mental health issues going on there. There's a lot of unresolved trauma going on there. And they just sort of, they've come here to find whatever that they were seeking. You literally serve yourself up on a platter to these women. Like, here I am, just, take shots at me now, for the next, year and a half, 2 years, however long this goes on for, and do you see an end to this? Do you see any kind of end in sight with any of this, of them, just everybody just standing down?
No.
Yeah.
What I see is a lot of people are going to tap out eventually. There's still going to be some people who are going to keep going regardless. They may transfer to other communities. They may wander around. I mean, what a lot of people fail to understand is none of these people are strictly in this community. They move around to other communities. So they may drop out of one and still be in another.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a lot of crossover and all that. So I think there's going to be a lot of migrating. There's going to be a lot of cross-pollination, and just people are just going to move around. It's like the Matrix quote about viruses, you humans are a virus. You go to an area and you zap it of all of its resources, and then you move to another area.
Yeah. I've kind of equated them to locusts, that just, they just kind of go to another area or channel or whatever. And they just, until it's all fucking consumed, and then they move on to the next. It's a troubling trend to me, a troubling pattern.
Well, I think it's because the YouTube communities, it's sort of a microcosm of human nature as how it's played out through history.
Yeah,
there are these little tribes that pop up, and some of them are nomadic in nature. They move around, and they might move to an area where there's another community and might have a battle and kill the other community, and they'll take those resources and combine them, they'll consume them and move to another area, and then sometimes some conquerors will come and kill those Indians, and then they're going to build a fucking town, and then some other country is going to start a war with them and destroy that town and take their resources. You know what I mean? That's human nature. That we invented war.
Well, the ants, I think war is built into the fabric of reality. Ants are probably the most warlike species on the planet.
That's true. Yeah. I guess I mean more like organized war.
Yeah. Well, and we've taken it.
Ants are driven more by instinct, but
more instinct. Yeah. We've definitely taken that instinct and developed it and taken war to, we've turned it into an art. The art of war. There are an entire structure and rules to warfare, which is
right.
So
kind of shit. And the thing about YouTube and all of social media is that our human nature gets unleashed on here in various unpredictable ways, but there's no real end to it because there's resources to consume. So you can do that. You can consume like followers and money and members and shit like that,
It's kind of like, did you ever play Civilization, the game Civilization?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like Civilization, but in YouTube. where it's all about, managing resources and alliances and all that kind of shit. And, goblin, it's anyway. Yeah. I mean, you could look at it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those same natures are going to work on YouTube.
Yeah.
Any platform where there's money and resources to obtain.
Yeah. There's going to be, just a whole lot of,
there's going to be war.
Yeah. Yep. It's inevitable. It is. It's human nature, and it's, it's disappointing, but whatever. And it is what it is. So yeah. Welcome to YouTube. It is.
Yeah. Welcome to human nature.
Welcome to human, and I've, and we've talked about this before, and I've definitely have, talked about this. It really is. It's like you said, it's a microcosm. It's just a big giant mirror of everybody, and everybody just projecting all of their shit onto everybody else. And it's just, that's why it is such a mess. Especially, I apologize, to all those women out there who do have their shit together, and because they are out there, but there are a lot of women who do not have their shit together. And when you get a lot of them together in one place, I mean, it's inevitably going to be just one giant clusterfuck. I mean, what did you expect?
Yeah, well, they all, give each other ass pats. They all,
and exactly.
They enable
each other. Exactly. Yep.
All their bad behaviors get exaggerated. They never feel like they have to strive for anything better or to behave better. There's no rules imposed on them. There's no, morality or shame. They can just feel like they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, no boundaries exist. I mean, people violate boundaries constantly on here, and there's no punishment for it. There's no consequences for it. Right. That's one of the other things. And then they feel empowered. When they come along and they cancel somebody. We're the consequences, and they feel empowered to do these kinds of things, and so they just become tyrants in that way.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
It's disappointing, but I can't stop it. I mean, I'm trying to do my own little part here with this kind of stuff. I'm just trying to shine a light on it, but try to be positive about it at the same time. And if I have no expectations that anybody will listen to any of this kind of stuff and go, I'm going to be a better person today, but if one person, that cliche, if one person decides to become a different person or a better person because of any of this, then, I feel good about it. At this point, I'm just kind of doing it for myself, all this kind of stuff for myself. It's just, but I do want to try to leave some kind of a positive. I just don't want to leave behind all this negative shit, and just, and be complicit in all this negative shit. So, it's why I'm trying to be better and positive, and maybe I can hopefully set an example, a better example for one person out there. And, some young kid will come along and go, you know what? I feel it. I'm vibing with this guy. I get it. And I'm going to, from this day on, I'm going to make an effort, cause there was a point in my life, I think for all of us, and we all have those moments in our lives where we, it's like, okay, I'm done with all that. From this point on, I'm going to start making different choices, but then it's the actual doing of the daily making those choices. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so anyway,
you have to always wake up making those, deciding to make those choices.
You do. It's just a daily kind of a thing where it's like, okay, I'm not going to give into my darker nature. I'm going to act out the better side of myself. I'm going to strive to be a better person, a more moral person, a more ethical person, a more, dare I say, a more loving person. Because to me, that's really kind of at the heart of all this is, and I don't want to be, it's something I've had to fight because I don't want to, I'm cynical and jaded enough to go, oh God, you're going to talk about love, but I don't want to be that person because it's true. It is true. Love really is the answer. And, because when you are in that vibration of love, you look at everything differently. Just the whole world shifts perspective, and the things that it's like, why was I so upset about that thing? And why did I want to hurt that person? It's all that kind of stuff just melts away.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Well, on that note, Jamie Lycan theory, I really appreciate you coming on here and spending the time with me to do this interview, man. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed this. This was a good time.
I'm glad that I could give you my denouement to my YouTube career.
You bet.
If I was to give that to anybody, I would give it to you, MJ.
And I appreciate that. I really do, man. And I would hope that would be the case. And I'm glad that, I appreciate that. I don't think you're dead. I don't think you're dead yet on here. We'll see, we'll see. Obviously we'll see. And so, as we close it out here, what's up for you? What's in the near future? What's next for Jamie Lycan Theory?
Well, you can access my Patreon to find out more on new projects that are forthcoming. There's going to be some Patreon exclusive content that is coming really soon. I'm going to be streaming to different platforms for now, and I'll tell you guys if there's any updates on the YouTube end. I would say that my plan right now is just to try to make things work as best I can. I'm gonna see where things take me. I'm gonna keep trying to get my channels back. I'm going to just keep on rolling. Keep doing what I'm good at doing. Honestly, I'm good at YouTube.
Mm-hmm. You are.
I'm good at calling out bitches.
You're good. You are good at YouTube, man. Yeah.
And I'm good at making memes. I'm good at making cartoons. I'm good at joking around and drawing. So I'm going to keep leaning into that shit. Okay. And I mean, what else am I going to do? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I could try to explore other avenues, but I believe that there's, things sometimes happen for a reason. Mm-hmm. As weird as that is to say for someone like me, there were some times in my life where I was at a very low period, mm-hmm. and I had to get like a really shitty job or something like that, and I felt like crap. And then suddenly I had a big opportunity just crash into my lap, and my life changed after that. So that could happen again, mm-hmm. and I have other opportunities. People are hitting me up for different things. So I guess we'll see what happens. I guess I'm just going to keep going and just see what happens for now. And that's it.
You will survive.
I will survive.
You and I we should talk about some stuff here in the near future.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Definitely.
Yeah. Now that everything has changed for both of us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of amazing what, a year and a half will do. You and I are in like completely different, and we're in the same state now too, which is kind of crazy. But,
yeah. We haven't even bothered to plan a meetup or anything like that.
I know it. I haven't reached out. I thought about it a few times and I'm like, not yet, when in the summer.
Not yet.
But yeah,
he's waiting to invite me out to the pool where he can get me naked.
Exactly.
We can skinny dip together in the lake, actually, right? You want to skinny dip in the lake?
Yep. I can play with your nipples and Well, good stuff, man. I appreciate you coming on, and we're both creative, smart people. Mm-hmm. I think, you'll be fine, man. I know you will. And so, yeah, we'll talk, we'll definitely talk about some stuff here in the future. And I wish you the best, man. I always do, even though we have had our fucking tussles, over the years, man. We just, somehow we sort of, I don't know what it is, mm-hmm. man. You and I just sort of stay together somehow. It's kind of interesting. I think well,
I just put up with your tantrums and let you get over it.
You do. Yeah. And I put up with yours, and I kind of think that we're the kind of, friends. I think 10 years, 15 years, we're still going to be, hey dude, what are you up to?
Well, you're going to be dead.
I might be in 10 years. I might be dead.
So that's not going to happen.
So, but
5 years max.
5 years. Okay. 10. I'm going to give myself 10.
Okay. 10. I'll give you 10.
I'm going to make it to 65. So anyway.
Oh, yeah. It's a good number.
It's a good number. It's good. 10's a good round number.
Yeah.
So this was, I do it again. I really appreciate you making the effort to do this and coming on and spending the time with me. And we'll see, we'll see kind of where this, if this kind of makes any ripples or not. I think it'd be kind of fun if it does make a few ripples out there, but then again, it could be completely ignored. So Either way, I really enjoyed this, so thank you.
Yeah. I'm glad to help you out.
That is it for this episode of Reflections. I appreciate everyone tuning in and watching. Donation links are in the description box below. Donations are appreciated, and we will see you next time.